Rob Seacoke, Future Farm. Today's innovations, tomorrow's solution.
Jim and Todd, let's talk a bit about biologicals. You know, my first experience with biologicals was in the late 1970s. I went to a field day in Iowa, and they were selling a biological, and they used a photo of a giant ear of corn that was supposedly produced in Alaska. And you can imagine that there was some skepticism among the group that was actually possible. So what's changed?
Yeah, so there's a lot of skepticism around biologicals today. I mean, we've seen a lot of inconsistencies in performance, promises of performance, but you know, biologicals have been used for several decades as it comes to soybean inoculants, silage inoculants, and things of that nature. But really what it comes down to is there are a lot of factors that dictate the performance of biologicals in improving crop yields. And a lot of that comes down to specifically how those biologicals are delivered and if they're actually alive or not within the context of their use. So Todd, tell us, what has changed?
I think the delivery system has changed and the ability to keep residual life from inception to the time you actually deploy it where it needs to be, and that's in the ground, and that's with your seed in the soil. And so a big word, sporulation, is a big factor in this. So you think about, you go to a microbiological lab and you blow up, in fermentation, you blow up a population of bacteria. And instead of just throwing it into a jug live and trying to take it into a warehouse, put it on a truck, bring it out to your farm, put it in your planter, put it in the ground and think that all of those bacteria are still alive, sporulation has changed that. And so sporulation is a sequence of events. So sporulation is the action. Starts with a live bacteria. And that sequence of events is basically a process that stresses the live bacteria. Okay, so what you start with depressing the nutrient availability to a population. And so as it stresses more and more and more, it moves into what's known as an endospore. Sporulation, bacteria, live bacteria is the front end of it. The back end is an endospore, or also known as a hard spore.
Yeah, so what you're saying is rather than having the actually active, metabolically active bacteria that you know do the activities they're supposed to do, you actually harden them in a way that makes them more resistant and resilient and to survival to actually get to where they're supposed to be. Now, there are other things that could kill the bacteria as well. I mean, desiccation has always been a big issue, heat, whatever the other stressors are. I mean, you don't necessarily want to have that bacteria exposed to hard chemistries or other things of that nature, correct?
Correct. So just like live bacteria, even the hard spores after the sporulation process, you don't want to take that risk. So through a process of delivery mechanism in a dry formulation, it's known as biocapsule. So we have a pail that in the base of the pail has three different nutrients, and then it has talc, and it also has graphite, the entire mix that you need in your planting system. Well, think about talc. Well, what does talc do? Talc has a high affinity for water. So these endospores still have moisture in them. So you don't want to deploy them into that talc graphite mixture until you absolutely need to, because that talc will desiccate even the hard spores, if that makes sense. So the delivery mechanism now is to keep them separate by themselves in different capsules until you're really ready to go to the field. So you get to the field with as much population as life as you possibly can.
So this biocapsule technology that we have, it's something that really has a lot of flexibility now and actually going into the future, right? I mean, we could potentially customize this delivery mechanism, correct?
Right, exactly. Example, in our corn and soybeans, there are 2 capsules on one, there's 3 capsules on the other. Well, as we discover other products that are beneficial and can be proven to be beneficial, we can add more capsules to those easy, simple delivery systems.
Absolutely. So the customization really provides a plethora of different options that may be possible. And what we really expect to see, and what we have seen, is that consistency of performance, because getting the live bacteria to the seed or to whatever approach, whether it's suppressing different pathogens or things of that nature, it's really the delivery mechanism that will improve that overall performance of those biologicals.
And not just the performance, but also the shelf life the longevity, and the cost of goods then, because if you have to refresh all that material every year, if you have to remanufacture, or if you can't carry anything in an inventory, that changes your cost of goods and changes the on-farm price point. It's not good because we say it is, it's good because we want to be able to prove it. And that's where we're at today. We're on our proving grounds west of Elkhorn, Nebraska on Future Farm from Rob Seco.